All right, welcome back, robotics students. You've leveled up once again. In the last video, we talked about this statement we've got right here. We used a variable, in this case an integer, so a whole number to set our speed. And if you're watching this, you have successfully coded the bot so that the variables down here are looking for the word speed. They're not looking for a number anymore. And then by typing a number in up top in this space, right, you can change the speed. And hopefully you've done that twice and made sure the code works, got it checked off with me before you're moving on to this one. So in this video, we're going to take it one step further. We're going to, instead of having to rewrite the code to adjust the speed, we're going to use the potentiometer. And that's the part that's got the little gear and the shaft going through it on the top of your Swervebot to adjust our speed. So what the potentiometer is it's a real precise measuring instrument that can tell the position of that shaft. It's an analog measuring instrument, so it'll shoot out values between approximately 0 and 4,000, depending on the location of that shaft. And so we'll get to that in just a second. Our code today is going to start off like all of our codes by doing a save as. We like to save early and often in robotics, and so I'm going to call it file 6. And I've already done a file 6 to practice this, so I don't fall all over myself in the video. I'm going to replace it. You should be making file 6 for the first time. And then once we've created file 6, before we start programming that potentiometer, I'm actually going to take this snippet of code here, which controls my speed variable, and I just cut it out of my code. And then what I want to do is come inside of my infinite while loop, and I'm going to paste that variable in. Okay, now that one little change in the location of this variable is going to make a huge difference, because what would happen before, when our variable was sitting up here where my cursor is now, we would turn the cortex on for the bot, it would read that variable, and then it would instantaneously go into this infinite while loop. And as long as it's in this infinite while loop, right, which is going to be infinitely, because 1's always going to equal 1, right, the speed was always going to be set to whatever we had up here. So by moving my variable for the speed inside of this infinite while loop, right, each time it completes one of these if statements, it's going to cycle through all the infinite while possibilities. And if we've adjusted the potentiometer to change the speed, it'll pick up on it and adjust the speed for the next time it does this forward and backward part of the code, or the next time it does donuts. Right? So make sure you move that infinite while statement. And then we're going to come up top here, and I like the way I've got this written, so I'm going to kind of be lazy here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to hit return, and I'm going to paste it in. Right, this time I'm going to take a second integer, though. I'm going to call this my pot value. VALUE, so my potentiometer value, and then I'm going to come down here and say equal potentiometer value or pot value. And I want my pot value to equal the sensor value. And I'm supposed to have a capital S here of my potentiometer. So now we got to go up top here. I think most people call their potentiometer just pot, but like we talked about, these are just names, right? You could call your potentiometer Susan, as long as you're typing Susan in between the parentheses down here. And matching up those names, you're in good shape. So now I've got a variable set up here where my potentiometer value is going to be one variable called pot value. Okay, and I've got a second variable for speed, and I want to use the pot value to set the speed. So I'm going to come in here and delete 120, and I'm going to say speed should equal my pot value. And now here's the tricky part. It's so tricky. I made a 2-slide Google slide to help explain it. Right, our potentiometer range is between 0 and 4,095. Our speed range on the bot's between 0 and 127. And so if I crank that potentiometer up above 127, right now it's not going to know what to do, because it's going to say, ooh, I don't have a speed of 128, or I can't spin the motors at a speed of 4,095. And so here's slide 2. potentiometer value cannot equal the speed value unless, right, we set up a ratio. So we're just going to do some real simple math here. You can see I kind of laid it out just to give you a visual of what we're going to do. We're going to divide the maximum potentiometer value by our maximum speed, right, and give us a conversion factor. So if I divide 4,095 by 127, my decimal places kept going, but I rounded. I got a value of 32.2. And so what I need to do to convert whatever my potentiometer value is possibly set at is I need to divide this number, or whatever number it is, by 32.2. And so if this confuses you, please come talk to me during class. I can explain that a little bit more. But hopefully this simple math is something that you can grasp here in class, right? And if not, please ask questions. I want to make sure you understand what we're doing here with this code. Yeah. So now I'm back in my robot C code. I need to take that potentiometer value and I need to divide whatever number that is by 32.2. And I'm going to put it inside of parentheses. Okay, so we can see what's going on here. Now my speed is going to equal this variable pot value. The variable pot value is equal to the sensor value of the potentiometer. But before we set the speed, we're going to divide it by 32.2 to give us the correct range. So this number here should never be bigger than 127. So I'm going to go ahead and click the save button so I don't lose what I've got. I'm going to compile the program, and it looks like I've got all my variables set right. I've got all my semicolons in the right spot because I'm not getting any error messages down here. So at this point, right, you can go ahead and download this program to your bot. Once you power it up, you can kind of adjust that potentiometer and press one of your two switches. Your robot should run a program at a set speed, and then you can try and turn the potentiometer one direction or the other, press a switch again, and it should run that program at a faster or slower speed. And one thing I would just kind of caution you, if you crank it down too far, remember the Vex robot doesn't really do a whole lot if we get that speed down into the single digits. So if you're running a real low potentiometer value, the wheels might spin so slowly that we just can't see anything happening in that short period of time that we've got our bot set to run. So I'm encouraging you to crank it up, right? Feel the need for speed and go for some of those higher level values as you're testing your robot here today. And once you've got this done, congratulations are in order because you've completed the introduction to coding. Right? You get to do some work with that line bot now for your summative assignment, which is coming up next. So congratulations, you've learned quite a lot on your coding journey, and you've got more to learn, but a firm foundation that you can build upon. So I'm going to quit talking now and let you get to work on coding. I look forward to seeing what you've done with your bot here shortly.